My name is Michael Hagan, and today here at Carrollton Christian Fellowship, our daily Bible reading comes from 2 Kings chapter 21 through chapter 23. And here our daily devotional comes from the very beginning of 2 Kings chapter 21. And what we see is that after the death of King Hezekiah, his son Manasseh comes to the throne. And Manasseh comes at a very young age. And Manasseh did not walk forward and to continue in the ways of his father, but instead he went in a completely opposite way. So what we see here is that Israel had already been removed from the land. So this would have been very fresh and very communicated to Manasseh as king of what had happened and the journey and the route and what they had gone down. But instead of Manasseh heeding the warnings of the Lord and the warnings from the prophets that we see later on in verses 10 through 15, the different prophecies here that the Lord had given, and also this specific prophecy, and all the different prophets and everything that the Lord had sent in order to warn Manasseh, in order to turn him away, he continued to go straight into the things that the Lord had done in order to remove those from the land that were before the children of Israel when they came out of bondage in Egypt. And then also the things which the children, those in the kingdom of Israel, had done, which had led them to be driven away and carried away by the Assyrians. And so Manasseh did not continue. He did not follow in the ways of Hezekiah's father, but instead he rebuilt all that his father had removed and also rebuilt even more. In verse 4, Hezekiah's pride, his pride to establish his name in Jerusalem instead of the Lord, and also his pride in order to establish his name and other gods' names in the house of the Lord, and doing it with no remorse and with no regard for anything of the Lord or the Lord's word. In verse 6, we see that he had literally sacrificed his children on the altar of Baal and on the altar and in the firearms of Molech in order to guarantee and in order to sacrifice that so that and for a desire for earthly wealth and for earthly prosperity. So he had placed his son on the altar of a foreign god in order to try to earn different prosperity of the world. And in verse 7, again, he literally desired to replace God's word in the temple there in Israel, there in Jerusalem, and also with his promises, with God's promises to the people and to the nation. And so he had spilt much blood. We see later in verse 16 through following, much innocent blood, which the Lord was not going to allow to go unpaid. And so through this, we see that no matter even if some lessons here, no matter even if with Hezekiah, we see that even though his father was wicked, Hezekiah still had a choice to follow the Lord or not follow the Lord. And the same thing with Manasseh, even though his father was godly, the most godly king and after the Lord's heart of any of the kings of Judah, Manasseh still had to make a choice. Who was he going to follow, the Lord or the world? And so no matter what we do in our life, anyone, no matter where they are in the world, they always have a choice, following the Lord or following the things of the world. And so, and what we see later on is that because of all this that Manasseh had done, he had even corrupted the legal system and how things were to come about and how things were even to be played. And his whole heart and desire was to do nothing but corrupt the people. And so that is even an example for us and a lesson for us of that if we continue down the ways of the things in order to seek to place our name over the Lord and in order to place our name before people instead of letting other people and drawing and pointing others to the Lord, then what ends up happening is that it ends up corrupting. We end up corrupting everything that we end up touching. But the great thing about Jesus is that Jesus always ends up bringing life and brings it abundantly to everything. And so later on, we see that the Lord does bring about a judgment on Manasseh. And that's another lesson and instruction for us, is that the Lord, though he does not act immediately all the time, The Lord will always repay the wickedness that is done, and he'll do it in his timing. And so the timing in which the Lord did it in the nation of Judah, later on we'll see, actually in tomorrow's devotional, is that the Lord did it in a time to where there were none who were seeking the Lord, when everyone was seeking out for their own eyes and their own hearts, what they wanted and what they desired. So the Lord was not going to bring judgment upon any, if there were any righteous left in the land. The same question which Lot had asked the Lord and the angels of the Lord, will you bring judgment even if there is one? And so we see that with the Lord, that the Lord is slow and patient for even one last one who desires a heart for the Lord and desires for the Lord to reign not only in their own heart, but also to see the Lord reigning in the lives of others. And so we see that inevitably the judgment of the Lord does come. And so I hope this can be an encouragement to us. I hope this can encourage you in the things of the Lord and in order to grow stronger in your walk and your relationship with the Lord. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care and have a blessed one.